All right, today we're gonna make a kimchi fried rice using pretty much some leftovers that I had in the fridge. We're gonna start this story with some prawns. So I had a few extra prawns that never made it onto the barbecue. So I've taken the old poo pipe out of the prawns. I'm just gonna grab a knife, a little bowl, and I'm gonna cut them up into chunks. Now, with your fried rice, I like to see some protein in there of some sort. So prawns are perfect for this, and I like them pretty chunky. So don't cut them up into bits that are too small. Still give it a bit of body. Okay, kimchi, again, I'm using leftovers here. So we've been making a lot of kimchi lately, so I've still got some of it. I've drained out some of the kimchi juice, and I'm gonna use that to marinate the prawns. So before I start cooking, before I start doing stuff, I'm gonna set them in the marinade. Look how good that looks. Also, in my kimchi fried rice, very unconventionally, I like to put a bit of speck, right? And the fat is one of the most important parts here than anything. So I'm gonna cut up the pancetta, speck. You can use speck, you use pancetta, you can use fatty, streaky bacon if you wanted to. And I want quite sort of, again, I want chunky bits in my fried rice. So cut them up into lardons, nice and chunky. Full temp, and I'm gonna put my speck in here. And what I wanna do, I'm putting it in from cold, right? I'm not heating it up first because I want to render out as much of the fat as possible, because the fat from the speck is actually what I'm going to fry the rice in, right? So get it on medium heat. Barely see what temperature it is, but that's okay. We want to end up caramelizing that speck because we want the flavor out of it. We don't want it so high that we burn the fat, okay? So medium heat on there is good. While that's happening, we're going to actually get our rice sorted. Now, this is a really good way of doing it, because if you're making fried rice with leftovers, right, in your fridge, if you're making fried rice, you should use yesterday's rice. I'm going to use a short grain Japanese rice because that's what I had left over. You could use jasmine rice from leftover Thai the day before, just as easily. I'm going to start with 2 eggs. Pop them in a bowl, and into that I'm going to add some soy sauce. Wow, that went literally everywhere. So about 2 tablespoons of soy sauce. I'm going to add about 1 tablespoon of fish sauce, ballpark. I like a little bit extra. Yum. And then we're going to add a splash of sesame oil. Try and use pure sesame oil. Don't use the rubbish sesame flavored oil. Watch out for that, it's disgusting. When it hits heat, it's rubbish. Let's move our speck around there a little bit. I'm going to add some white pepper. Stir fry loves it. A splash of rice wine vinegar, just to add some acidity to the rice and the kimchi, and then some gochujang. So, spoon, about 1 tablespoon. If you like it extra hot, add a little bit more. About 1 tablespoon's good enough. Done. Okay, also, about just under 1 tablespoon of sugar. That's going to do 2 things. It's going to sweeten it up loads, but it's also going to help caramelization while we're actually making the stir fry. So you can see the fat starting to render out of this now. So I'm going to keep moving and mix up these eggs. So just break up the egg and mix it in with all the other ingredients. I'm now going to get my rice, pour it on top. I told you it was unconventional, didn't I? And just use your hands, your fingers, to break up all the rice and just cover every single grain of rice in that delicious egg mix, right? Beautiful. We want every single bit of rice in there to be coated. All right, so our speck is now looking perfect. So what I want to do is remove the speck and keep the fat in the pan, right? So just pop it onto your rice, because we're gonna put it back in along with the rice so it can just flip out onto there for the moment. So you can see all the rendered fat, and that fat is ultimately flavor, and that's the flavor that is going to drive the beginning of this. Kimchi. So remember, we strained the kimchi juice off. So I've got about, generous cup of kimchi there, and I'm just going to run my knife through that quickly. Now I don't want it like minuscule, but at the same time, I don't want it too chunky. So just while that pan is heating up and getting nice and hot, quick chop, done. Spring onions, I've separated from white to green. The green part we're going to use for garnish. The white part is going to go in the beginning, right now. Straight in the pan, along with our chopped kimchi. Now, our prawns, marinated, so they've had about, 10 minutes in the marinade. They're going to go in. Just try and get as much of the kimchi liquor off it as you possibly can. You don't want too much of it in there, otherwise you'll just have a really wet, soggy rice. No good. That's fabulous. Now, what we want to do is begin to cook the prawns. Notice I said begin to cook the prawns. I don't want to overcook the prawns, but at the same time I want to give them a little bit of a head start before I add the rice. The other thing you'll notice about this is that the stuff that's in the fried rice compared to the quantity of rice, I like lots of bits, right? I don't want it just to be a mountain of rice and I'm poking around trying to find a bit of prawn or a bit of garnish. It should be like minimum 50-50, right? Beautiful already. You can see the prawns are just starting to turn the color. Look at that. The smell is absolutely unbelievable. It's like umami Grand Central. So now I'm going to add in my rice. Remember, the ice has got egg in it, so we got to move it, right? So just get it on the move. Get yourself a little wooden spoon. Help move it around a little bit. Two things are going to happen. The egg mixture actually begins to make it rich and thick and velvety. And once the egg starts to cook, it'll start to fry. Because you're moving it around, it'll separate, and that's what you're looking for, that sort of, a little bit of sort of separation as it cooks. Of course, different variations of this. You can do much smaller batches. You can do much smaller batches of this and super caramelize it and get it sort of really dark and caramelized and gnarly. I kind of like in between, right? Of course, if you wanted to, you can use a wok over a wok fire. You're going to get that sort of toasted wok flavor off of your fried rice. It's beautiful, but today, straight in the green pan on an induction, we're laughing. You can see now it's starting to go past that point where the egg has made it thick. The egg's starting to cook, and now it's going to caramelize. At this point, don't forget the prawns aren't cooked yet. They're probably about halfway cooked now. As the rice starts to caramelize in the pan. At this stage, we're now going to add some nori. So just what you'd make for sushi. And this is going to give a really nice umami, seaweedy flavor to your fried rice, which is super delicious. Add a few more. So we can see now we're starting to get separation with the rice as it caramelizes. Our prawns, we'll just check one of them, make sure they're cooked. Perfect. The prawns are literally just set. So now we'll get the rice straight in. Yum. Straight prawn there. Straight in my mouth. A little garnish. A few sesame seeds. Some of the green of the spring onion. And I've got some garlic here. So it's just fried garlic. And that is just going to add a little crunchy, delightful garlic come through at the very end. And there you have it. It's super easy dish to make with any leftovers you got in your fridge. As long as you've got some kimchi, you can be making some ripping kimchi fried rice. Thanks for watching, and if you liked that, please click subscribe because there's plenty more where that came from. Also, if there's a recipe that you actually want to see me make, chuck it in the comments below and we'll get round to it. Thanks for watching.